Welcome back for part 2 of breaking down the stats on the new East versus West trading cards. They have your inside power, outside power, table IQ, wrist, etc. In part 1, we looked at John Brzenk, we looked at Jerry Cadaret, we looked at Michael Todd and Irakli Zirakashvili, and I'll leave a link to that down below. Now we're going to get on to the next 4, starting with Kidergali Ongarbayev. Kidergali really became a household name, at least in the West, after the top 8, where he even got a pin on Yevgeny Prudnik. That was a few years ago, and he is now the light heavyweight champion of East versus West 6. So let's get into his stats here, starting with his person. He's from Kazakhstan, he's 27 years old, 6'1", 231.4 pounds, a 16.9 inch bicep and 16.1 inch forearms. And I mean, at least the bicep, that's one of the smallest in that elite light heavyweight division. It just goes to show you that arm wrestling is way more than muscle mass. Honestly, that's one of the things that makes this sport so interesting. If you were standing behind this gentleman in a coffee shop, the last thing you'd be thinking is, wow, I bet he's the light heavyweight champion of arm wrestling. But then you see him stop a monster like Alex Kurdecha, and it's like, whoa, there is more than meets the eye here. Alright, let's talk stats, and before we get into this, I just want to say, this is all for fun. I mean, it's really cool that Engen organized all this, and I think these are a cool keepsake, collectible, if you will. But yeah, I mean, they put the stats on there, so we might as well talk about them. Alright, getting into it, his inside game is listed at an 8.5, which, I mean, we just saw him bang inside with Alex Kurdecha, so while that's certainly not what he's known for, I think it's fair to kind of juice his number up there to an 8.5. Outside, top rolling, he is a 9.5, and that's accurate. I mean, that's really what made him the champion of East versus West when he got that win over John Brzenk. Side pressure is an 8.5, shoulder pressure is an 8, and yeah, I mean, you don't get to this level without having, at least decent power in every one of these categories. Table IQ 9.5, absolutely. Even in that clip we just watched against John Brzenk, each hit was a little bit different, and every time he did it, he would be in a better position for the next one, and that's why on hit number 3 or whatever, he got the pin. Wrist is a 9, which thanks to my awesome comment section, we now know includes flexion, radial deviation, ulnar deviation presumably as well. So yeah, I mean, that's fair. His top roll is ridiculous. He uses a lot of riser a bunch of the time, tons of wrist flexion, so that's fair. Experience, 8.5. I assume that's because he's 27 years old, but given those 27 years, I mean, being in the top 8, WAF, East versus West champion, it's hard to have much more experience in that time frame, but I totally understand why they did that. He's only 27, you can only have so much experience. There's arm wrestlers on the stage at East versus West 6 who have been arm wrestling longer than Kidergali's been alive, so that's good. Hand control, 9, definitely. Endurance, 9, he's been in some serious wars. Explosiveness, 9.5. Again, I like that little extra 0.5 because, I mean, again, that's a big part of his game, is being fast, being explosive, getting into a good position, and then when he's in a good position, using that 9.5 table IQ to get in an even better one. And that's an important note for everyone out there. Always be looking to improve your position. I don't care if you have everything. You got his pronator beat, you're on top, you're on your side of the table. Keep going, because when you commit for the pin, you want it to be a pin, not get stopped and then let them slowly work their way back into the match. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. I put out as much content as I can for you guys, and that's a great and free way to support me. Next up, we're looking at the Georgian monster Gennady Kvikvinia, who is really a complete arm wrestler, so we should see some crazy numbers here. And yeah, I'm seeing a bunch of 9s and 9.5s, so let's get into it, starting with the person stats. He is from the country of Georgia. He's 36 years old, 6'1", 308.7 pounds, 20.8 inch biceps, 18.5 inch forearms. Those are some massive forearms. For arm wrestling stats, they have his inside game at a 9, outside game at an 8, side pressure at a 9, and shoulder pressure at a 9. And yeah, when I think of Gennady, I think of him hitting to the side and of course having that press in his back pocket. Moving forward, his table IQ is a 9, which just by the nature in being in constant wars on the table, he's gonna get familiar with every possible position and how best to deal with it. And wrist is an 8. Yeah, he does tend to lose his wrist, so I think that's fair to knock him down a little bit there. Experience, 9.5, absolutely. He's been around the block. Hand control, 8.5. That kind of coincides with wrist in my opinion. If you lose your wrist, you're not going to have hand control. Endurance, 9.5, and yeah, like I said, he's no stranger to wars. Then explosiveness, they gave him an 8.5. I might juice that up to a 9. At least in the middle of the match. He's not known for flashing people off the go, but this dude can go bonkers when you least expect it in the middle of a hook match, and all of a sudden your wrist is in the pin pad. Next up, we have Gabriella Vasconcelos, the GOAT of female arm wrestling. Can we call her that now? I think we can call her that. She's the GOAT. As for her personal stats, she's from Brazil. She's 34 years old, 5'2", 209.4 pounds, 16.1 inch bicep, and a 14.5 inch forearm. Although I don't know if these cards already got sent to print, but this is a picture of Gabby after she landed for this weekend's event, and that is not a 14 inch forearm. That's more like a 16 inch forearm. You know, after saying that, I know too much about forearms. What has arm wrestling done to me? Anyway, let's get to her arm wrestling stats, and here's another example of just a complete arm wrestler. Inside 9.5, absolutely. I think it was Ron Bath who said that if Gabriella gets to her spot in a hook, even he can't pull her out of it. Outside 9, yeah, she can top roll too. We just saw that against Sarah in the little intro clip. Side pressure 10. You guys know how I feel about giving out 10s, but sure. Shoulder pressure 8.5. Yeah, just off the top of my head, I don't think she presses that often. Table IQ 8.5. I don't know about that one. I mean, how many gold medals does she have from Worlds? Just by the nature, I think it's like 30 something. Just by the nature of being that versed in the sport, I think your table IQ is going to be better. I'd give her a 9 there. Wrist 9, experience 9.5. There it is. Hand control 8.5. I'm not sure why they knocked her a little bit there. I guess in some instances she can lose her hand, but has enough side pressure to just blast to the pin pad anyway. Then endurance 9, explosiveness 9, fair. And last but not least, we have Chance Tugboat Shaw, another young up-and-comer who's been on a tear lately. He is from the United States, Florida. He is 24 years old, 6 feet tall, 295.4 pounds, 20.8 inch biceps, and massive 18.9 inch forearms. Taking a glance at the arm wrestling stats, we see a pretty big deviation from the numbers we have been seeing, and I think that's because Chance is really just entering that elite level. He's not getting championship matches or anything, so these numbers reflect that. They have his inside game at a 6.5, which, while Chance isn't known as an inside puller, we have seen him hook here and there. Then his outside game, which is really where you see Chance most of the time, is a 7.5. I might even bump that up to an 8. I mean, his top roll is ferocious. And then the rest, kind of middle of the road. They have him at an 8 for side pressure, 7 for shoulder pressure, 7.5 for table IQ, 7 wrist, 7 experience, 8 hand control, 7 endurance, 8 explosiveness. Again, I think the reason for those numbers are that he's still young, 24 years old, and hasn't really cracked that elite level, although he did get this very impressive win against Zurab, so I think as he improves and starts taking down bigger and bigger names, we'll see some 9s on that scorecard. So there you go, 4 more done. We still have 3 to go, but these videos tend to go on long, so I'm gonna get that out in the 3rd installment. If you want to check out some of the arm wrestling equipment that I make myself, I'll leave a link to this in the description, and if you enjoyed this video, please top roll that like button, and if you think I earned it, subscribe. I put out multiple new videos every week, and I will see you in the next one.